What do you get when you cross flatbread with Spider-Man? Peter Parker. Welcome to today's Comic Book Editions Volume 205 video. I'm going to share with you what might be one of the oddest things in my collection that I've recently picked up. Plus, I feel like today in the haul, I'm going to have a lot of follow-ups from previous Comic Book Editions videos. And of course, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Welcome, and let's get started. I want to start out by acknowledging the CBCA Awards, the Comic Book Community Awards. I have been nominated in 2 categories. My channel and this Comic Book Editions series have both been nominated by YouTube viewers of the comic book community. And if you were one of the people that had nominated me or threw my name into the ring, I thank you so much for thinking about me. It does mean a lot to me. It's nice to open up a list and look and see your name and your channel on there. I don't do this for the recognition. I'm not a numbers guy. My gosh, if I was a numbers guy, I would have been so frustrated because I've been so close to 800 subscribers. I seem to be able to get up to about 795, and then YouTube will start knocking me down, and next thing you know, I'm in the high 780s again and have to rebuild, and this process goes over and over and over again. But it's not about the numbers. It's about sharing this experience with you. And I have met so many quality people and have so many great friends because of my channel, and that truly is what means the world to me. Right now, the CBC is nominating, taking the list of all of the channels that have been submitted into their nominations. So regardless if I make it into that next step or not, it is nice to be recognized and acknowledged. And I did want to take a moment to thank those that thought of me and wish everyone luck as they proceed into the next step, the finalists for each category. Let's get started showing comic books because that's what you're here today to see. And I want to start with Fantastic Four, Volume 1, Issue 187. George Perez not only doing the cover, but he was the interior artist at this time. We're at 1977 with his very first book that I'm going to show you. This is a really good period of the FF. Reed Richards has lost his powers in Fantastic Four number 178. He doesn't regain those powers again until issue number 197. And those get acknowledged pretty much in every issue. What I thought was funny about this one, they had just come back from wrapping up the previous storyline, and they're back to the Baxter building. Agatha Harkness is with them, and Reed's kind of quite honestly complaining about not having his powers. And Agatha Harkness stops him and she says, "Well, you're still smart, aren't you? I mean, you were smart before you had superpowers, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, essentially, "Then quit your whining. You have that." So we have the FF battling Claw, and then on the cover here, they say, "Oh, you're not going to believe who else you're going to be battling." I'm going to spoil this for you. Not much of a spoiler considering how many decades old this comic book is. Molecule Man is the other villain that they take on, that they come back to the FF headquarters to find, both of them. And one thing that I was like, oh, I wish you wouldn't have done that. As I was talking about Reed, whining and complaining about not having his powers and not feeling like he's as much use to the team. So they're going through the Baxter building, and they've all kind of separated. And Sue has gotten attacked, and when Reed comes in to find out that she's been attacked, she says out loud in front of the Claw, "Reed," something to the effect of like, "Reed, no, don't. You don't have your powers anymore. You won't be able to fight them." And of course the Claw hears it, and he's like, "Oh, so you don't have your powers anymore." And I'm like, Sue, why would you do that? But more importantly than that, writers, why would you write Sue doing that? I hated that. But I love the rest of the comic book outside of that. Of course, I did a Fantastic Four haul back in my Comic Book Editions Volume 199 video. And I'll have some more FF to show you definitely in future Comic Book Editions videos. Some more back issues that I picked up, and probably, most definitely an FF comic book that I just upgraded for my collection. So that will be coming up in the future. Let's keep it Marvel, though. Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 1, Issue 227. We're at 1982 for this issue. We have John Romita Jr. doing the artwork here. Roger Stern wrote the issue. This is part 2 of a 2-parter with Black Cat. I don't have the first part, issue 226, which is something that I want to get at some time. And that 226 has a cool cover. This cover I'm just kind of with. Once again, I seem to point this out a lot, and I've never noticed this until I started pointing it out, which is why I probably point it out all the time. Spider butt. There's a lot of spider butt in Spider-Man comic books, I've noticed. Just adding that in there. So this story, Black Cat has come back in the previous issue. Spidey thought that she was dead. She's like, let's be together. But she wants to pull one last job to make sure that they're financially secure, and he doesn't want her to do that. And so he tries to stop her from a robbery that she's committing, and she kind of wants him to get thought of as an accomplice in this robbery too. So that's essentially the basis of this story. It was a good issue. I have a lot of the issues with Black Cat, and like I said, still got to pick up the previous one though, the previous issue, which is a goal to get sometime in the future. I kind of wanted to get both of them at the same time, but this one came up and the other issue wasn't available and it was at a good price point, and I got it, and one night I just felt like reading it, so I read it. More Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue number 247. Now we're a year later, 1983, and I believe this cover work is John Romita and John Romita Jr. So we get both of the Romita guys here working on this cover. With JR doing interiors too. Spider-Man takes on Thunderball of the Wrecking Crew in the first of a two-part of this issue. Spider-Man's also investigating. He knows the Hobgoblin is alive, even though it's been reported to the public that Hobgoblin died. He knows he's still alive, and he's trying to pinpoint where he possibly could be. So he's interrogating some of the gangs and stuff too in this issue. See, I do collect more than just Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, which, by the way, I do want to acknowledge in Comic Book Editions Volume 195, I did like a Spectacular Spider-Man haul, and I said I've got part 2 that I'm going to share with you probably next month. Well, then next month, which was last month from when I originally posted that video, came and went with no video, and it's probably not going to come this month. It will come sometime in the future. I'm just maybe trying to get a couple more Spectacular Spider-Man comic books in my collection before I share that. And then, Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 1, issue number 248. We have 2 stories in here. The first story continues the Thunderball story from the previous issue. And then it's the second story in this issue that I really want to spotlight. It is The Kid Who Collects Spider-Man. And this made such an impact. Essentially what it is a child who we find out at the end of the story, even though it's a touch predictable. At the end of the story, the child, unfortunately, is dying. And he loves Spider-Man. Spider-Man goes to visit him, and he asks Spider-Man to reveal his secret identity to him. And Spider-Man actually does. And it's just a tug-at-your-strings, heartwarming story. It's the second story that makes this issue so well thought of. As a matter of fact, they even adapted that story into an episode called Make-A-Wish in the Spider-Man The Animated Series 1994 cartoon. So if you're familiar with that episode, it was inspired by the second story in this issue. It was a great comic book, though, overall, and I'm happy I have this. One of the reasons that I wanted to get these last 2 issues, 247 and this one, 248, the inclusion of these gives me a consecutive run of Amazing Spider-Man from issues 243 through 290. And I know that isn't nearly as long of a haul as some of the consecutive issues I have in Avengers or in X-Men, but still it's a nice little continuous run to have. I still have more comic books to show, but I want to take a quick moment to tell you about the 4th installment of Avengers vs. JLA. It is tomorrow night, August 14th, on John's Comics with Kids YouTube channel. It will be on 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central on John's channel. We're going to battle out Justice League of America Volume 1, Issue 4, where Green Arrow joins, versus Avengers Volume 1, Issue 4, where Captain America joins. Who had the better issue? We'll talk about that tomorrow night. We've been having so much fun doing these, and I hope you get a chance to join us in the live chat, but if not, at least watch it on the rewind. So once again, if you're watching this on Tuesday, it is tomorrow night, August 14th on John's channel. It will be archived as well if you're watching this video outside of a day of its original release on my YouTube channel in the JLA vs. Avengers playlist folder. So make sure to join us for that. It's going to be a bunch of fun. So I mentioned at the top of today's video that I had this, probably the oddest comic book that I've added into my collection. Let's just show it and then let's just start talking about it. Now, were you expecting me to pull this out? This was so wild. I didn't know this existed. I was just browsing through a website, looking to see if they had any comic books I was interested in, and I found this. What is it? It's a variant cover for Fight Club 3, issue number 5. This was published in 2019. And that's pretty much all that I know about it. I bought it because of this. How crazy is it to see the Faye Dunaway Mommie Dearest no wire hanger scene cover? That is so random. That is so odd. I recently watched the Faye Dunaway documentary on Max, which if you haven't seen, I do recommend watching it. I felt like because I certainly had heard about, the myth of Faye Dunaway and some of her behavior, but I felt like I understood her more after watching this. One thing that I do want to say about Faye Dunaway, and I'll talk a little bit about the Mommie Dearest. I'm going to present this by saying child abuse in no way is a laughing matter at all. And I actually enjoy the movie Mommie Dearest, but not because of that aspect of what it's depicting. It's just that, honestly, Faye Dunaway looks and sounds like the real life Joan Crawford. I have heard that Faye Dunaway, because this movie almost ruined her career. She couldn't get work afterwards, and she became this laughing stock. Here's an Academy Award winning actress whose career really took a hit because of this. I really think the movie's pretty decent. I mean, there's campy moments for sure. But in terms of the look and the sound, and I've heard that Faye Dunaway will not sign any photos or anything Mommie Dearest related. I heard that she's a great autograph signer, but not that. She'll just skip over to someone hands her a photo like that. Faye, I think you need to get over it. Just saying it. You rock that movie. And one thing that I will say, usually she will only answer like 1 or 2 questions about that movie when she's doing an interview. They did about 10 minutes of it on that Faye Dunaway documentary. And at one point they were showing her some test photos of her in the Joan Crawford makeup. And it was like one of the rare times that I'd seen her just not bash the movie, or she kind of embraced what I wanted her to, which is she nailed the look of the role. There's a lot of things she did great in that movie. So I wish Faye would get over it too. I would love to have a signed Faye Dunaway Mommie Dearest. I don't think that will ever happen in life. So my runner-up would be something signed by Faye Dunaway that was Supergirl related. Because remember the Helen Slater movie, Supergirl? She was the main villain, Selena, the witch. Power of Shadow. Yeah. But haven't read this book at all, really know nothing more of it. Don't really know a lot about the Fight Club movies either because I haven't seen them. Know of them, haven't seen them. Really don't know. I don't think, I haven't even opened this book. I don't think that there's any Faye Dunaway, Joan Crawford, or Mommie Dearest inside of this issue. I think it's just some rando thing that they put on a cover. If I'm wrong about that, make sure to leave me a comment below. I'll be anxious to learn a little bit more about this. But wouldn't you agree that this is perhaps one of the oddest or strangest things that you've seen me show on a Comic Book Editions video? More than likely and probably. Yeah. Let's turn to a little bit of DC Comics for you right now. Just last week in Comic Book Editions Volume 204, I showed you a haul of books from a comic show that I impulsively went to, and I got a Wonder Woman Volume 2, Issue Number 2, second printing, otherwise known as the no-month variant. And during last week's video, I said I've already gone on eBay and ordered another no-month variant, and this is the one that I ordered. And it's here, and it's in such beautiful condition, too. I'm happy for that. This is Wonder Woman Volume 2, Issue Number 3. George Perez, of course, artist and co-plotter at this point, from 1987. It's a second printing. Issues 1, 2, and 3 all had second printings that were put together in one comic pack back in the day. And you'll know it's a second printing because there's no month. Underneath the number 3, there should be a month listed, or at least there was in the first printings. And these second printing ones don't have the month, and that's how you can tell them apart. So I have 2 out of the 3 second printings. I'll probably at some point, go around and get a second printing of issue number 1, just to be able to complete the set. I know where I can get one in a store actually right now. I didn't know if this was something I was going to get, and like I said, I impulsively made that decision at that comic show recently, like I showed you last week, and then picked this one up in such nice condition too. And it's been fun for me to go back and reread some of these early Wonder Woman stories from Volume 2, which I haven't read, in a minute or so. So that was nice to go back and just rediscover that. And of course, the artwork is so top-notch. This is George Perez, probably at his peak, at his best, the work that he did. So probably, like I said, at some point you'll see a number 1 second printing being added into the collection. At least that's probably a goal. Maybe not an immediate goal, but it is a collecting goal. And when I ordered from the eBay seller, who I got that from, he also included a free book for me, which is always nice. Not required, but certainly is appreciated. My free book, and I didn't know it was coming. It just, surprise. You open up the package and there's your bonus book, Batman Shadow of the Bat. This is issue number 61, and it was published in 1997. I haven't had the chance to read this yet, so I don't know a whole lot about this. I think it's pretty much a Batman and Harvey Bullock story for the most part, at least from the little bit of research that I did on this, getting ready to prepare for this video. That's kind of what I learned about, what's going on in this story. So I'll be checking this out in the future. And thank you to the eBay seller for being a great seller and a little surprise bonus too. Certainly is appreciated. My back issue of the week YouTube short came out yesterday. It's about Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and it talks a little bit about the final issue of his run. So look for that at 60 seconds about that comic book. If you haven't watched the video yet, I certainly would appreciate it. We'll have Fanboys Live and the Retro Review Sunday with Comic Food 2814 and Signature King Tony Fent on my YouTube channel. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central. We had a lot of fun last week. We featured Ambush Bug. So tune in this week to see which character will be featured on the Retro Review. And as I mentioned as well, we have on John's Comics with Kids YouTube channel, tomorrow night, August 14th, if you're watching this on Tuesday, Avengers vs. JLA. It's episode 4 with Green Arrow joining the JLA and Captain America joining the Avengers. I think it's kind of funny that they both got new members in issue 4. So those two books battling out. If it's already past August 14th and the show's already aired, like I said, it's archived in a playlist folder here on my channel. What was your favorite thing that I showed in today's Comic Book Editions Volume 205 video? Leave me a comment and let me know, because I would love to know. Your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. As always, your friendship and support has meant the world to me. Thanks for making it to the end of this video, and I look forward to seeing you again. You know what we're probably going to do next week? I did this last year, and I think I'm going to do this for next week's video. I did like a Nucadia had last month in Prime sale at the same time that Amazon was having their Prime sale, which they have done this, as a yearly event too. And I kind of did the same budget that I did last year, and I'll show you what 20 bucks got me from Nucadia, probably in next week Comic Book Editions 206 video. So look for that. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you on these live streams and hanging out with you again next week. Until then, take care and have a fantastic, healthy, and happy, successful week. Bye.